So the interesting thing we've got here is that as we're recording this, I don't know what Dan has chosen for us to talk about tonight. But of course, if you're watching this, you can look at the title, so you already know what I'm about to talk about, which is a very, very strange little thing. Anyway, without further ado, let's go on with it. I'm Marc P, he's Dan, and this is Screwdriver with a Twist. I'll play some fucking...
It's a goddamn siege. Damn siege.
Going to say before your baseline so rudely interrupted me, I thought this episode would be me convincing Dan to get a HD camera.
Well, on the evidence
but
so
the thing
far.
Is, it's the first thing I noticed when I watched the last episode back. The first thing I noticed is that you're in HD and I'm not. And the thing is, I'm looking at my webcam right there, and it actually at the top says HD.
So like, why are you so damn pixelated then?
Oh, just don't know. Just jobber. Right.
Nothing changes, does it?
No.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this. This is the first ever episode, first proper episode of Screwdriver with a Twist. This is an episodal series
Were
where...
you going to say scrooting from the horse's mouth?
No. Well, maybe, but, I get confused. I'm an old man. I get confused with these sort of things. This is a series where Dan poses questions for me, be it from his mind or from you, the audience, and we just talk wrestling for half an hour, 45 minutes, 2.5 hours, who fucking knows? So, before we go on and Dan tells me what he wants to talk about this evening, as I said at the intro, you already know what we're going to be talking about tonight. A bit of housekeeping, if you will. Dan, you don't actually have any social media, do you?
No.
So, I was going to say...
No.
Before
I'm just trying to think, like, what I used to have and what I have now. I've got nothing. I'm just a boring old man now. That's...
So
once I lost the title in UBW, people just didn't want to talk to me anymore. I was just like, nah... go live under someone's stairs and,
So I can't say go and follow Dan on the various social medias, but instead you can just follow me instead. If you like to follow me on Instagram, that'd be lovely. That's where I post most of my stuff about me. And if you want to get episodes of this series a few days before they go on to live on YouTube, I post them onto the Mark Pearson Wrestling Reviews Facebook page, normally on the Wednesday when they're scheduled to go live on the Friday. You can follow me on Twitter if you want, but all my posts that go onto Twitter come from my Instagram page. So just search me on Instagram. The link's in the description below. Like I say, I post the majority of the stuff that I post on social media goes on to the gram. Now, I've said it twice already. I'm going to say it one more time just to clarify. I have no clue what we are going to be talking about at this moment in time. Obviously, when this goes live, I'll know exactly what we're talking about because I've talked about it. Yeah, just about makes sense. Dan has not told me anything. We've just spent an hour playing on Halo. He hasn't said anything. All he's told me on Friday night, he let slip a little nugget. We're recording this on the Monday. On to 3 days ago, he let slip that this is a topic that my subscribers will have an opinion about. And you're like, oh, there we go. That's all I know. So if it's a bullshit topic and I go, just answer the question straight away, I'm not going to edit it. You'll know and we'll move on to another question. So I suppose, because who knows what we're going to talk about. Dan, what are we talking about this week, boss?
I was thinking about interesting things about like the wrestling business and topics that you haven't covered, and I was sort of thinking like, well, I could ask you what your favourite Berserker match was, and I think, do you actually know what any of them are? Like, just to make you think. No, what I've got is because you and me have talked about this in bits and bobs, but we've never had a full conversation about it. And you're already smiling because you're probably going to guess it.
No, I was just trying to remember my top 5 Berserker matches.
No, I would like to know from you what or who makes up Marc Pearson's Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling.
Wow. So that's a good question because that's something I've never really thought about in depth. And you are right, we've definitely never talked about it on here.
We've talked about like who would be in it, we've thrown names around, but we've never come up with like your definitive thought. Who are they? And why?
Well, and why, of course. So it depends. My first thought when you said that was it all going to go on from a business point of view, or from a character point of view, I suppose, or from my personal favourites. Because if you want to go on the business talk side of things, you're going to have to talk about who drew the most money. And at the end of the day...
And not just WWE, I'm talking about pro wrestling in general.
Of course. So bear in mind that it is a business, the wrestling business. Surely the people who are most successful in this are the most people who've drawn the most money or made the most money. But then, of course, if you want to talk about it from a performer's point of view, who is the greatest of all time, and then you could also spin that into who is the greatest character of all time. Now, bear in mind the Mount Rushmore comprises 4. I mean, do you do like... What?
I think there's a couple there we would absolutely agree with. I think to throw a name straight out there for someone who...
Watch me not agree.
Be on both of us.
Just watch me not agree.
I mean, I mean, would you say that you can include promoters in as well? Because I think it would be wrong in a way to exclude Vince McMahon from it.
I think that's pretty much where I was going when I was saying from a business point of view. So I think the number one name that's got to go on, or the first name you think of if you think of it from a business standpoint, has got to be Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Because the reason we're all here, the reason we're having this conversation is because of Vince. Whether you love him or hate him, and there's reasons plenty to not like the guy. Every fucking year he seems to do something. The latest that you don't like, the latest being the taking people's Twitch accounts off them for one thing, But at the same time,
did you hear about the Lita thing?
The Lita thing? No, go for it. Just while we're here.
No, I actually read yesterday. Apparently, the thing with Edge, the sex celebration thing they did.
Oh yeah, in like 2006, when Edge won the championship.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, I read yesterday that apparently she didn't want to do it, and Vince threatened to fire her if she didn't.
Oh, what? Bloody hell! If that was the case, and I'm not saying for 1 second it's not, but if that was the case, she did a bloody convincing job in the ring. But maybe
good work, in my opinion.
So I think from a business point of view, for his contributions to the industry, I think that Vince McMahon has got to be number one with a bullet. So then you go on to in-ring performer, I guess. So just straight off the bat, who is, in your opinion, the greatest in-ring performer of all time?
You say Vince, you hear Hogan.
But because they're so entwined from like the Hulkamania, the golden era, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, but just in terms of what Hogan's done for the business, and I'm not a huge Hogan fan.
You're a massive Hogan fan.
Like everybody else, it's just like, oh, it's Hogan, that's cool. But his drawing power, what he's done in the wrestling business, I don't see this list of 4 people without having Hogan on it. Is he the biggest babyface of all time?
Absolutely.
I'm not talking necessarily about work rate, but in terms of drawing power, merchandise, his household name status, I think that it's fair if you say Vince, put Hogan right next to him.
Thing is, if you're going to put Hogan in, I mean, this is probably one of the problems of having 4, isn't it? Is that you're going to have a lot of names that you're going to have to leave off.
And this is where I think people are going to, really have an opinion on it.
Yeah, definitely.
Say,
I mean,
you've got Flair, Michael.
I was about to say, if you put Hogan in, does Flair deserve to be alongside him? Does Flair deserve to go in before? Because he's a better in-ring worker, is arguably here a better promo, because Hogan had one promo.
Would you agree that Hogan? I mean, this is not my list. This is your list. I want to know who your list is. But would you put Hogan in there?
He wasn't the first choice. No. He may be like the because I was going to go one business, one in-ring, one character, and then we'll decide on a 4th. Is what I would probably do. Which is why I was leaning towards it. That's why I asked you straight up. In your opinion, who is the greatest in-ring worker ever?
Ric Flair.
That's interesting because I say Shawn Michaels.
See.
So for my Mount Rushmore, if from the in-ring category, I've got to go with Shawn, because while Flair could do the 1 hour Broadways, for example, in the 80s, and was the last real travelling world champion, I'd say that actually in ring, I think Shawn ran rings around him. And of course, Shawn managed to have a life-changing injury, a career-ending injury, and then came back from that. And he had an arguably even better in-ring career the second time round. I think
in like 1996 he was untouchable as champion. He had good matches with pretty much everybody he was with. But you also look at Flair and his title run.
Which one?
And we watched last week his match with Steamboat, and the match he had with Funk, and this is all before WWE. This is all prior to that.
Yes.
He could make anyone look good. Apart from the latter part of his career where he was sort of booked to face people like Carlito and that, but even though he managed to get them, and get a good match out of them.
Yeah.
I think Flair's performance, he never had a bad match in his prime.
Yeah, I suppose that's El Gigante.
Okay, what's your favourite El Gigante, whatever his name is, match?
Well, I can only think of one off the top of my head, and that's the
Taker.
The Undertaker, WrestleMania 9, of course.
Yeah.
Because obviously, but in ring, I think my choice would be Shawn Michaels. Dude, Flair has said Shawn Michaels is better in ring than him. Recently, this was like a week ago.
It's the whole thing. It's a tough one. It really is. I mean, this is like a fight in itself. Is it Michaels or Flair you put in? But you're saying Michaels.
I'm going to say Michaels for in ring for sure. For absolutely sure.
So we've got Vince.
Yep.
Shawn.
Yep.
Who's next?
And then if you're going to go for character, it's got to be the Undertaker, because there hasn't been a character that's had the longevity and the way that he was able to evolve his character so that it never really got stale, and the amount of not as much, I would say, because there was Surfer Sting, and then there was Crow Sting, and then it's been variants of Crow Sting, and not really. Well, I mean, you had Wolfpack Sting, and you had like the Joker Sting that you saw in TNA for a while, which was different. Surfer Sting, So for me, I mean, the Undertaker character, of course, would have been limited because, of course, he couldn't ever go anywhere else. He had to stay in the venue. He couldn't turn up on Nitro one evening as the dead man.
The whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, until Mankind came along in 1996, there was not a long list of classic Undertaker matches. I saw WrestleMania 11 recently, which OSW reviewed, and his match with Bundy there, which was fucking disgraceful, for example.
Yeah, the Taker versus Taker match.
Taker versus Taker.
Which was
SummerSlam 94. So,
you're making me think now. Good Undertaker matches pre-Mankind.
Go. The thing is, there's memorable ones, but there's not.
Yoko Jr. was alright.
The casket match.
Yeah, it was alright. I mean, it's not.
You remember it because of its finish, because what happens at the end when Undertaker descends into the fucking heavens and it's just Marty Jannetty dressed up as the Undertaker. You remember that bit?
What about Hogan at Survivor Series?
Yeah,
I thought that was okay.
That's an alright match.
And Hogan put him over. It got the character across. Because you remember, isn't that the match where and he does the eyes in the head thing for the first time?
You cut out for a second, boss, there. What did you say?
Oh, I said, isn't that the match where he gets him in the corner and he gets Hogan in the choke, and it's the first time he rolls his eyes back into his head?
I remember that bit.
I really need a hobby, if that's true. Can someone let me know?
Desperately need a hobby. Yeah, please let us know. Let us know in the comments.
But yeah, I mean, I can't remember a lot of good matches. I'm trying to think. You remember that god awful DVD, the Tombstone History of the Undertaker?
Yes,
one?
Yeah, and that's one of my problems with it.
I'm just trying to think of everything on disc 1.
Yes, exactly that. You've got a whole litany of it all. Look, it's Undertaker versus this month's big bad guy. And you go, okay.
The thing is, when Taker, like when Mankind came in, I loved his feud with Taker. I loved those matches. Yeah. I think it's like, oh, we see Taker as a brawler, and Mankind got that out of him, got that out of his character. Absolutely. And then you had Bret who came along, and Bret had a great match with him at SummerSlam, which again showed that Taker could wrestle. What was the match? And it was just like,
there's a match you were talking about.
Taker did better with the smaller guys.
Of course, yeah. The ones who could bump for him.
Yeah. He could actually wrestle.
What was the match you were talking about? You were talking about an Undertaker match a couple of weeks ago. Was it the Mankind one at Survivor Series 96?
Yeah. No, the Buried Alive match.
You were raving about that match, weren't you? We were talking about that recently.
I'm one of those people who likes the original ones, like the early ones. Like, I love the first Hell in a Cell. Of course. I don't understand why it's now a pay-per-view and I can't name any matches happening on it. I like the first Buried Alive match. I think it was great. I thought the first, ladder match, the first, the Shawn Razor one was great. But, yeah, I'm trying to, that's right, you're just, trying to think of pre-Mankind good Taker matches.
I'm sure the people are screaming at us now, like, what about insert here?
Oh, yeah, let's go,
yeah. What about this one? What about the one with Diesel at WrestleMania? What about Joe Chan Gonzalez? What about Jake Roberts? Jimmy Snooker? Sorry, I'm just going through the street. I'm just going through the street trying to.
But for character.
Yeah, but best character.
If you're talking character,
yes, which is what we are.
Would you put him against Hogan? Because is Hogan a character, or is he just himself?
Is a character, isn't he? Well, he's Terry Bollea. Yeah, he's just a guy, isn't he? And what you do? I'm a big guy. Yeah. I say brother a lot, but yeah. It is a good shout for Hogan to be in as the character, but I just don't think for longevity and for.
I've realised so far you like WWE guys. You got Vince, Shawn, and Taker. Who's next? Triple H.
Got to remember, I've said this so many times on Facebook. It's why that I have a bias towards WWE because all or WF as it was at the time. That's all I watched. I've said numerous times on that I saw bits of WCW in the early 90s on ITV. I don't really remember much of it. I do remember seeing Cactus Jack, for example, on one, and I seem to remember that he stood out, but it wasn't until Worldwide appeared on Channel 5 in 2000, I think it was, that I ever started watching WCW, so it was just a and I got sucked in by the brainwashing that WWF was the superior product. So if you ever watched WCW, you went, this is crap. This is very good at all. And I sometimes, not that I watch many of my old vids, but if I ever do see a WCW review, 9 times out of 10 it's because we are watching that show and I want to go and see what star ratings I gave it. It's like, you can be quite harsh on this sometimes. And I've said before that the biggest one for me was the DDP Randy Savage feud, which I absolutely fucking slated when I reviewed it. And hands up, we were happy to go. Like, I went back and watched it a few years ago. Went, you were way out of line on this one. This is a fantastic feud. Yeah, I mean, I probably can't put anyone from Japan in because I just don't know enough about Japanese wrestling. And, the majority of the Japanese wrestling I've watched in my lifetime has been the stuff that you've recommended or that we've watched together. That I just haven't. It's funny. People like I've been to 4 Dragon Gate shows. Is an example. I've watched maybe 5 Dragon Gate shows in my life. It was just that I knew of people, and word of mouth is a very powerful thing. And people saying like, this guy's great, and this guy's great, and this guy's great. And you go and watch a match of Shingo, for example, if you've never heard of him before, and you go, oh, this could be good. And same with the Ring of Honor. I haven't watched a Ring of Honor show outside of a couple of matches here and there since the glory days of Ring of Honor back in 2005, 2006, 2007. I went to this show because they were coming over and I wanted to see the Young Bucks. That was the pure and simple, wasn't it?
You just wanted to see a mountain driver, that was it.
It was that. And even then that...
And you saw one?
I saw one. That was a nuts weekend, wasn't it? That really was a fucking... Nowadays, if I look at this, that was in 2006, was it? Or was it 2007? So 2006 or 2017, which one was it? Can you remember?
2016.
Right, so looking at that with 4.5 years removed as it is now, is a mad thing. We would not have done it at all.
No,
because I went to Birmingham to pick up James, who came with us, and he's a massive Walsall fan, and Walsall been playing live that day. Is it Walsall? I really hope I haven't just said the wrong fucking team. Is it Walsall? One of the Birmingham teams, if I got it wrong. Sorry, James, if you're watching this. Went to pick up James. Went to pick up him from Birmingham, right? We then drove to Leicester, where we met up with your good self. Went to the wrestling show. Enjoyed the wrestling show a great deal. Stunner of a main event. Absolutely fantastic main event, right? But then drove for you would because you went to university in Leicester, didn't you? So you would know all the best places to go to in Leicester, and you were desperate for us to come out drinking with you. Like, I'm going out drinking because Mrs. still lives in Leicester, so we're going out drinking, and that's going to be great. And it's one of those, okay, sorry, can't, because the next day, James and I were driving to Glasgow to go to the Hydro for ICW's biggest show, right?
That's it.
So we had to drive back to Broadway. We stayed at James stayed with me for the night, and then the next morning, Liz decided that she wanted to come to the Hydro. So she bought a ticket, and then we decided that we didn't want to take her car because she had this Saab 93 that had a massive engine in it, and it would have used too much fuel. And we actually worked out that the cost of the fuel to get to Glasgow and back was more expensive than hiring a car. So we went and hired a car and took it in shifts to drive to Glasgow and went to this show that was fucking shite. It was so average. You wouldn't believe how mediocre this fucking show was, including one of my wrestling highlights, which is Team 3D / the Dudley Boys, forgetting how to do a 3D, which is one of the best things ever. How do you fuck up the move you've been doing match in, match out all of your careers, but they managed to fuck up the 3D? And then, of course, it's one of those things where we weren't clever enough to book a hotel that night, so the show finishes at 10 o'clock, and we've got to drive fucking home, and it takes like 6 hours to drive back, by which point we're absolutely exhausted. That was a utter waste of time, wasn't it? And the reason...
Might I just say, for future reference, when in doubt, go drinking with Dan.
Oh yeah, because that never ends badly, does it? Never, ever.
Yeah, we'll save those stories for another video.
One of these will be a... Is that what you tell me? For future reference, one of these will be a Marc and Dan's drinking stories, because there's so many. That was a... Look at it now, obviously, in 4.5 years later. Do you want to go to a show? No. We went to that show because... we just finished this one. We went to that show because... one time when Bobby Cash and I did a episode of Cashing In, Marking Out, we'd said if anyone ever wants to buy us tickets to a wrestling show, be our guests. And a guy who, I'm so sorry, he's going to be watching this going, me, it was me, I did it. I can't remember your name. I'm so sorry. A guy bought us tickets to go to ICW at the Hydro. And then Bobby couldn't make it, so James came with us. So we felt like we couldn't come out drinking with yourself. We had to go to this show because this guy bought us tickets.
Understood.
It turns out there was tickets left, and we drove up there, and it was So I saw Kurt Angle versus Drew McIntyre, though. So it wasn't. It was versus Joe Coffey, and that was a decidedly average. But I saw Kurt Angle, so it's something. Anyway.
Would Kurt Angle be on your Mount Rushmore?
He's a good shout because he's one of the best all rounders ever, isn't he? But bear in mind, I've now got one space, which I've ticked off a businessman, I've ticked off an in-ring, I've ticked off a character, so now I've got to go through the rest of wrestling and leave out, let's say for argument's sake, I put in The Rock, I've got to leave out Austin, and I've got to leave out Cena, and I've got to leave out, for argument's sake, Okada, because I know he's a really great Japanese worker. I've got to leave out Bruno Sammartino, I've got to leave out Roddy Piper, I've got to leave out Triple H, I've got to leave out Ric Flair. The list is so ridiculously long.
That's exactly why I'm asking.
But, of course, at the end of the day, you want my guy, and it all comes down to, I think, if it's not Shawn Michaels, who is my favourite wrestler ever? And so, I've always said that
Damien Demento. There's a taker match, the Raw event. Got it. Raw.
You bought me that for a birthday present one time, didn't you? A DVD of the first 2 episodes of Raw. Cheers for that. That's my 30th birthday. One of my 30th birthday presents.
Was it your 30th?
Yeah. No. Yeah, it was, yeah. 8. I had to figure out how old am I again?
Just one in the
eight years ago. Yeah, she got me amongst other things. She got me that. My choice it's very, very difficult. Because it's like narrowing down to 4 or 5, and then it's like, so which one of those guys? So say for example Austin and Rock, maybe Triple H could be in there. No. He's a special attraction, but not a best ever. Not a business changer. Not a game changer. You know, I mean, you could throw in Daniel Bryan in there. You could throw in Dave Rain is probably a good shout to go in there, isn't he?
I'd stop drinking if I were you.
First one of the night, mate. Bloody hell.
I mean, you've always, and since I've known you, your guy has been The Rock.
Yes. So that basically, I'm stalling for time to essentially say The Rock, because Rock is just all round. So decent, but not the best in the ring. It's rare post 97 you see a bad Rock match, and amazing. Yeah.
That was once he found his character.
Pardon?
Once he found his character.
Once he found his character, yeah. Amazing on the stick. Still don't think there's anyone been better who could just ad lib and create catchphrases out of nothing. You know,
I think the only person that comes close would probably be Austin or Jericho.
Yeah, see, I'm torn because I tell you what's pushing me is because when Rock came back for his feud with Cena, as much as we watched the first Rock Cena match recently, we did absolutely loved it. Like, this is fantastic. The build up to that match is fucking cringeworthy. And the previous WrestleMania where he took 15 minutes because he was the host of the show, and you're just like, would you?
We watched that live.
Oh yes, we did. So because of that, I'm sort of erring towards Austin, and because the thing with Austin is that you've got his early work, you know, his stuff in WCW and, you know, his ECW stuff, and there's not much of it, but the stuff, it's very memorable. And then you watching him evolve as a character from the Ringmaster into Stone Cold, and his watching it as a fan and just going, this is the best, and watching wrestling become this huge thing that you're talking about it at school when I went to college, and I went to college in 1998, so think about it. So I'm at that perfect fucking age where I'm 16, I'm starting college. Oh, wrestling fan, you're my new best mate, and we're friends for the next 2 years while we're in college because we've got this one thing we can bond over, and that's how great wrestling. And a lot of that is due to Austin. So I'm very much torn because, as you've just said, Rock was always my boy, and he is to this day. He is my absolute hero. You know, I don't do celebrity very much, and the celebrities that I do like are people that I've just got. It's above and beyond what I want. Right, a great example of a celebrity to me is Rowan Atkinson, and who's a gym. And I just want to shake his hand and just say thank you, because you are fucking great at what you do. And he's unassuming and he's humble and blah blah. He doesn't crave the attention. You know, Rock comes across like that. He is. I mean, and at the end of the day, someone who's as into fitness these days as I am. And just watching Rock's videos and just going, fucking, this guy's amazing. He lives by this credo of the hardest worker in the room, and he lives by that, and he sticks to that. I want to say you didn't see bad Austin matches, but you did if he ever fought the fucking Undertaker. How many good?
Well, that's not really true.
How many
he had a couple of
good Austin Undertaker matches apart from SummerSlam '98?
I enjoyed the first Blood match.
Somebody's gonna bleed. Somebody's gonna bleed. Fully loaded 99. Get out of it.
It wasn't a good wrestling match. It was a great. Did what it needed to. It wasn't offensive again.
Okay, fair.
Let's see.
We put that show on recently. Got 3 matches in and turned it off in disgust. No, this is shite. Maybe 4. I can't remember exactly what the matches were. We didn't make it as far as the Rock Triple H Iron Man match.
No. Is it an Iron Man match or is it a strap match?
I think it might be a strap match because the previous years that fully
loaded, yeah.
Sorry.
Do you remember we watched that video, like the top 20 shows of '99?
Yeah.
And Fully Loaded was like 2.
Yeah. And then,
like maybe we were a bit harsh with that, but that wasn't a terrible match in my opinion. I could watch it. His match with Taker at SummerSlam, I like that. It's just a personal.
I did say
enjoyable
apart
match for
from
me.
that because I will give them that one. There's so many matches.
I don't really know. The Buried Alive was shite.
Mm-hmm.
The match they had in was it '97, Cold Day in Hell?
That's a good one. I was going to give that one, but it's not. It's too short.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's got a screw finish as well, hasn't it? When Brett comes in, so if I remember rightly. But yeah,
well, I was going to say if Brett wasn't in it, then the guys in the ring more than 15 minutes. I'm sorry, Austin versus Taker is one of those matches that I think in the nostalgic part of your brain, like, oh yeah, those are great for you. Every time they go in the ring, it's fantastic. And like, apart from Judgment Day 2002 and all the others, where you just go, God, Judgment Day 2002.
Was it 2002 or 2000? No, it might have been 2001 now, I think about it. 2002. Come on, brain, don't let me down. Judgment Day, 2002.
When was Hogan Taker, the second one? Was that 2002?
Yes, they are. That's I'm wrong.
The worst choke slam ever. Yeah.
See, Pete,
no, it was that.
This is why you shouldn't listen to me, because I'm talking shit. Because
I think it was Backlash the month before, and again, get a hobby down. But I think it was Taker versus Austin then.
Might be number one contender.
I think so. I
struggling.
Anyway, no, they didn't have great matches, but again, they weren't offensive, apart from the Buried Alive match, which was terrible. But wasn't Austin like really ill in that?
I think he just the Buried Alive one.
Yeah, I can't remember where I read it, but it's like he was saying, if he was in an interview, he was end of the match. He had to do his whole thing with the beer and everything, and apparently he really didn't want to because he was ill.
Oh, did not know that one.
I think that's what he said. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but
they will. They always do. I think you found me.
So who is number 4?
So I've got to hang my colours from the proverbial yard on me, haven't I?
Let's go from the start. We got Vince, Shawn, Taker, and
Rock. Because to this day, he is my absolute hero. I never ever want to see him wrestle ever again. Never, ever, ever. But at the same time, depending on this fucking size he is now, could he wrestle again? I mean, can he walk through doors? He's so beast. I'm gonna stick with Rock. So Vince and Shawn, Undertaker and Rock.
Honourable mentions. Give me 2.
John Cena. Because they basically. He was a merchandise machine, and the company character was resting on his back for 2005 onwards until 2 years ago. The company was mentioned. Can I do 3? Because I've got 3. The second one would be Austin for the similar reasons. Because as a worker, he was in the early 90s. He was phenomenal. I love his stuff with the Hollywood Blondes. I love his stuff in ECW, even if I don't know much of it. And as I say, I was still a fan. I'm watching him. I've said many times I stopped watching wrestling for a while in 1995 because it was fucking terrible. But the match especially really, I would sort of dip in and out. And the one that really got me back got my interest was Austin versus Brett from Survivor Series '96, which in my opinion is one of the most underrated matches you'll ever fucking watch. Everyone always talks about this the WrestleMania 13 match. But that one's just as good, if not better. It's a 5-star classic, and I would
my favourite WrestleMania match.
Yeah, and and you've got if you know for notable inclusions, you've got to say Hogan as well. So, and the thing is, if someone said any of those 3 names that I've just listed were in their Mount Rushmore, you can't go, oh, that's right. It's like, yeah, they have. It's all a personal thing, isn't it? I'm sure in a moment you're going to tell me what your Mount Rushmore is, and I think that only Vince will be there on both.
Yes.
So
mine's always been the same. Mine's never changed. So
we'll come to that.
Vince, Hogan, Austin, Flair.
Interesting. Why do you choose those men? Tell me.
Same reason you said for Austin. I've always been you've been a Rock guy, I'm an Austin guy.
A lot of people are that. Aren't they? It's one or the other.
Yeah. Hogan for the drawing power, what he did for the business in terms of gathering an audience. I don't think you can have it gets said all the time. See, you're swigging that, making me look like a right sissy drinking my Heineken. Like,
You are a sissy. I'm not.
you drinking it neat?
No. Well,
Jobber.
maybe.
There you go. Swig a beer for the fucking man. No, what I was going to say, Hogan for his drawing ability, the fact that he maintained that character as Hulk Hogan. It gets said all the time, you can't have Hogan without Vince, you can't have Vince without Hogan. I think they are both important, they're both equally deserving in that right to be there. And then Flair, just because as far as work rate goes, and just the all-round entertainer in pro wrestling, I'll pick Flair. So Flair, Austin, Hogan, Vince.
Like we said before, that we had that night of wrestling over Christmas, and we watched 2 Flair matches from 1989, and they're both so different, and they're both 5 stars. So you can't. Flair's one of those ones. I can't argue with any of your choices, dude. I can't argue with a single one. But ladies and gentlemen,
I mean, I asked questions, but I didn't argue with you on them.
No. What do you think? Tell us. I am truly intrigued to see if anyone agrees with mine, if anyone agrees with Dan's, if anyone's like, oh my god, man, I can't believe you put Vince McMahon in instead of fucking Bull Buchanan. For fuck's sake, Mick. Because,
What about Butterbean and Blue Meat? Talk about, longevity and stuff. But yeah, I mean, if we were to just remove the promoter,
yes.
If we were just to take Vince out and talk about wrestlers, I would put Bruno there because he can't be left out. I don't think in if there was another space.
I would. The thing with Bruno Sammartino, right? There's 2 things, okay? Right, so. The first one is it was very regional. It was just the New York territory. He was never the NWA champion, for example. And the other thing, he was a very... The thing with Bruno, he worked in the WWF as where it was the land of the giants. If he ever wrestled against someone from the NWA, he was always shown up because he wasn't actually a very good wrestler. I say he was good in the environment that he worked in. So I would put in Lou Thez. I'd put in Harley Race over Bruno. I'd put in...
What about Dusty?
Good promo shouting ring. But he had charisma for days, and that's all that charisma will get people's asses in seats, as did Bruno. So this is what I'm saying. You can't discount him because of his work in the WWF. But like I said, I can think of at least 5 NWA wrestlers I would put in before him. Like I say, I was thinking of. There's men's. I could listen to Nick Bockwinkel promos all day long because he just makes me like I want to see you get the shit kicked out of you.
Yeah.
Things like that. See. I'm sorry. My brain was going to this guy, and I just stopped because my brain went. So what about Savage? And I was like, neither of us mentioned Savage once. Like, what the fuck is that? We're talking about the greatest wrestlers ever, and neither of us talk about the Macho Man. What is going on with us? What's going on?
And you say then again, to me, you say Savage, you hear Steamboat.
I don't think Steamboat. We never saw Steamboat as a heel, so it's one of those.
Yeah.
Couldn't see what I don't know.
Yeah, but again, work rate. Amazing. Just.
This is one of the great things about that I love about this. We start talking about in-ring workers. We start talking about work rate, and as I've mentioned on previous videos recently, in terms of work rate, the product has never been better than it is at the moment, and I have absolutely zero interest there. Isn't that ridiculous? Yeah. Isn't it ridiculous? I couldn't give 2 shits about we're recording this on Monday the 18th. When this goes live, the Royal Rumble will be this weekend, alright? And I couldn't give 2 fucks about the Royal Rumble this weekend. I'm probably going to watch it because I've got the network, and it depends how tired I am. If I'm wide awake enough, I will go back and we'll put it on and watch it. I'll just lie on the sofa, and if I fall asleep, so be it. But I'm not actually looking forward to it in any way, shape or form. You know, when we're starting to talk about Ricky Steamboat, oh, he's such a great worker. It's like, you could say...
You know what, I'll throw this out there because there were the rumours and stuff that we were talking about ages ago. I'll laugh if you don't watch it and it comes back.
Well, the thing is, the peep, now is the time. One of the things I do keep dip into is the Roman Reigns character. And the fact that they've turned him, finally turned him heel, and not only have they turned him heel, but he's just the best heel in the world at the moment. From what I read, and every time I dip into it, I go, wow. I watched his match with Jey Uso. I think that might even have been at Hell in a Cell. Now we've just mentioned Hell in a Cell, and we're just sat there going, this is gold. This guy's money. They need to keep the belt on this man for the longest possible time. And because of the gimmick that they're doing with the head of the table, the money match is Roman Reigns versus The Rock. So, Roman Reigns goes over, and he is the head of the table. That's money right there. But I don't want to see Rock in the ring.
But Reigns would have to beat Rock.
Yes, oh yeah, of course. Every time everything I see that says Roman needs to keep the belt for the longest time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I bet you never thought, 3-4 years ago you'd be saying that.
Because it was pushed down our throats. It's that, it needs to be an organic thing.
If anyone's actually going to add this name, you've just reminded me because of Reigns and the belt, and the name that's come to mind, would you ever consider Lesnar?
I don't think so, no. I think he's phenomenal talent, but Jesus Christ, neither of us mentioned Brett. We mentioned Brett in his match with Austin, but that's it. No one even considered. Even considered Brett. Because you know how you were talking before about you're either a Rock guy or an Austin guy. Very few people were, they're both my favourite. I was a Shawn Michaels guy. Even though he was a complete prick at times, I was a Shawn Michaels guy. So I just thought Bret Hart was me, whatever. And it's only, in the last 5 years or so, you go back and watch a Bret match and you go, this guy's fucking incredible. This guy is so fucking great. And just didn't appreciate him at the time at all. Just didn't care. Isn't that weird?
Now you go back and watch matches of his, and you're just like, oh yeah, I get it.
And but he got it.
If my counter question to my question is, do you think there's anybody current or anybody who you can think of at the top of your head who would ever replace one of your four?
I don't know enough about the current product to be able to say that, I'm afraid.
This kind of is off the back of the last bit.
Yeah. I mean, there are people on the roster that I can look at and go, okay, you are a great wrestler, like Daniel Bryan, for example. I've seen enough of his work to know that he's good. AJ Styles is another great example of that. So in my mind's eye, I'm trying to run down what happened on Raw. Oh, well, it's Monday today, so last week's Raw. And you could say Randy Orton's up there. I mean, he's a definite Hall of Famer. But
yeah, he's had an amazing.
He has, the fact that he's still going and going well and doesn't ever seem to have. No, I mean, he has a lot of mediocre or average matches, but doesn't have bad matches, and he never gets injured or anything like that. He's a safe worker. But like I say, I can't.
Did you ever consider Foley?
And again, which we talked about him in passing with matches that he's had with other people, but no. The only one that would ever fluctuate, I think, would be that fourth one with Rock, and it's like I say, he's my boy, he's my actual lad, my main guy. So, like I say, I have so much respect for him. He just seems like a really nice bloke as well, a really thoroughly decent guy. And he will probably be president one day. You may be watching this in 5 years going, look, you're right there. He replaced Biden as president.
That's going to get us some, that's going to get you some heat, I think.
Whatever.
Because I'd vote for him if that was possible.
Oh, yeah, of course you would.
Certainly more so than Kanye West. Anyway, we're getting off topic. So, finalise for me. Your Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
My Mount Rushmore of wrestling is Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And then it's Shawn Michaels as an in-ring worker. It's Undertaker as a character. So you've got businessmen. Because at the end of the day, as much as it pains me to... I mean, do you remember... Oh, you remember a guy... Real Wrestling Guru, his name was, or Original Wrestling Guru, or something like that. And he was like, it was when I made my Ring of Honor reviews, and he was like, look, it's not about the in-ring, it's not about the bright light, it's not about the pyro or anything like that. It's all about making money. And I was like, no, you're so far off the fucking mark. It's all about what's going on in the ring. And now, of course, I'll look at it as a businessman going, yeah, it's all about business. It's all about making money. This is a business at the end of the day. So Vince is there for that. Shawn's there for in-ring. Undertaker, there was no one, I can't even think of someone close as a character than Undertaker. And then
The only one I can think is Hogan for longevity and Sting.
I mean, you could, but the thing is, you could go in for Foley because he's had 3 really great characters, or 2 really great characters, you know.
I'm sure there's people out there who have, Sting on theirs, and I wouldn't point the finger and say, nah, come on.
I mean, yeah, would you put in Sting or would you put in the Bastion Booger? That's a tough call. We could have a debate about that for 2 hours, couldn't we? And then my final one would be Rock.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there are. I've got. I mean, you asked me for 3, for 2 honourable mentions. I gave you 3. At no point have I mentioned that one of my all-time favourite wrestlers was Eddie Guerrero. You know, he's got to be up there. But it's one of the things about narrowing it down to 4 wrestlers. Saying that it's saying name me top 10. You're always gonna have to leave people off, aren't you? And that's the problem.
And I think this is where people will get into the conversation of who is your top 10, who is your top 5, or so on. But the thing is, it can always change because you can be, I'm sure what your Mount Rushmore is today will be what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I'm sure of it. Yeah.
And in 10 years' time, who's to say what it will be?
Who knows? That's the thing. I mean, bear in mind how much my interest has waned over the years. Will wrestling, that thing. Oh yeah, I used to like that. I used to be interested in that. I went to my warehouse today because I'm sure some of the people know I've got Liz and I've got a teacup business where we sell vintage teacups. It's like it started off as a hobby business, and then as Lithify took off, it's one of those things that's fallen by the wayside. But yeah, we sold a tea set over the weekend, so I had to go and get that from the warehouse today. And up on one of the shelves at the warehouse, there's 3 boxes, and because of course, why wouldn't you put some of the heavier stuff on the top boxes? I'm sorry, on the top shelves, but each one has a sticker on it. It says Power Slams, and there's 100 issues of Power Slam that I can't bring myself to chuck away, but I've got no interest in ever reading them again. Does that make sense?
Are you going to rate this episode PG tips?
What's that got to do with Power Slams, you weird boy?
You make teacups.
Oh, I don't make. I sell them vintage. I don't drink tea. Tit.
Well, I would have thought for about time in your.
You cut out then, so I don't even know what you said.
Oh no! I said it's about time in your life that.
And he cut out again. Whatever it is you're trying to say, tea pun or whatever it is, your microphone doesn't want you to say it, clearly.
I made the PG tip. This is absolute horseshit now. I said the PG tips joke because you said you sold teacups. Yeah. And then I said, you drink them, and you said, no, I sell them. And I said, well, you sold something for the first time.
There we go. Say it twice. There it is.
Yeah. It took me 25 minutes to get that out. Never mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would love it, truly love it, if you could let us know down below. If you haven't already, let us know what your Mount Rushmore is of wrestling. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, and then anytime I upload a video where, for example, I'm shooting this guy in the head on Halo, just for argument's sake, or I don't know, there's still 6 episodes of the EBW retrospective review thing. There's tons of stuff to come. I'm doing a vlog every week. If you're watching this now, I've done 3 for goodness sake. Even though 2 of them haven't been, by the time we're recording this, 2 of them haven't been filmed yet. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny how life works? Yeah. I was going to ask what the next topic is then, just to see if I could throw you off, but I know you won't fucking tell me, will you? We've got some suggestions from you guys, and they'll go into a spinner when we've got enough, so we can maybe do an episode where we just have like 3 or 4 topics in one go. So I really look forward to that. That'll be a tricky one, because at this moment in time I can't prepare for what Dan's going to ask me, but then if we've got the spinner, I'll know what the questions are. So it's going to be, I don't know how quite one to
I think the more feedback we get, the more episodes we...
Well, yeah, the thing is, the next thing was, one of the things that I think Dan and I both crave on this is we want your feedback. What do you like? What don't you like? Let us know, because if there's stuff that we're doing that you don't like, how are we going to know if you don't tell us? You know, so let us know in the comments. I mean, some of the comments we got off the pilot were absolutely fantastic, and we're so grateful for saying that, you know, nice and easy, nice and relaxed, and we don't want this to be too scripted. We don't want it to be an interview. It just needs to flow naturally, like I think this one has, and I think that the pilot has as well. What do you think, Bas?
Flows like tea.
Flows like tea.
Never mind.
Fuck's sake, dude.
Yeah. If you've managed to sit through this video and watch to this point, thank you very much.
God, 50 minutes in, yeah, we should probably wrap this up. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your company, as always, Dan. And yeah, as I say, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Twitter if you really want to. Marc Pearson, Facebook, Marc Pearson's Wrestling Reviews on Facebook. Like I say, every video that I'll do, we'll always go there first. Always go there. Normally a couple of days before it goes live on YouTube. We're unlisted, so you can go and take a look. Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it?
I think that's it.
Right.
Thanks for joining.
Take it easy, guys. Bye, everyone.